The last 5 teams, Orlando, Sacramento, OKC, Utah, and Houston, are all playing the game of the decade. Brick for Vic. Poot for Scoot. The specter of Victor Wembanyama is hanging over all 5 of these teams' heads. What's the path out for this group? It's different for each team. Yeah, I think tanking absolutely still works, and it's still going to continue to persist, right? The lottery system changes it. Of course, it makes it a little bit harder to just blatantly tank and get the guy that you want. But as long as there are these perennial or sort of like transcendent generational talents out there, which they will exist, Victor Wembanyama being one of them, Scoot Henderson being one of them, like if you can get him and you're not contending, then what are you doing with your life if not tanking, right? Like that's the only option. You're either contending or you're tanking. And it's very difficult to be one of those in-between teams. As a Portland Trailblazer fan, I know how that feels. It feels like going absolutely nowhere, right? The team that gets Victor Wembanyama is going to change their franchise for 15 years, right? If he works out to be who we think he's going to be. That's enough of a reward to take the risk of sort of destroying your franchise for the short term, right? And then in terms of like what the path out is, there really isn't one, right? Like as long as Victor's on the board, there's no path out, especially for teams like Utah. Utah stacking up picks into perpetuity, just like Oklahoma City Thunder. Like that's Sam Presti's mindset. It's like, I'll take picks till 2099 until my son's son is running this team, right? And Oklahoma City Thunder, the only real, I guess, group that could potentially be out of the tanking conversation this year. But again, like if you could imagine a scenario with Victor Wembanyama and Chet on it, I don't even know how you could guard them. The reward, again, is still enough to take the risk, especially considering Shea seems very committed to being on this team. He's not going to ask out. Josh Giddey's still very young. You're shutting Chet down for the year. You've got some other young guns in the 2 Jalens, right? You don't know what they are going to be, but I think they're the only group you could say is very close to being a play-in team, but they can always decide to tank at the very last minute like they did last year, and that's proven to be very successful, fruitful, and sort of flexible for Oklahoma City. So I don't see a path out for really any of them. Finally, who is the one player this year from this group that everyone needs to keep their eyes on? Hint, hint, it's not Paolo Banchero. To me, in this group, it's not close. And you could say, oh, it's Paolo, right? And Paolo's the easy answer, let's be honest. Like, if you've never seen Paolo in person, which I'm sure all of you folks on the roundtable have, but it's like he was magnified 1.8 times the size of a normal human being. Like, he's not like a stretched out Victor Wembanyama. He's, of course, a talent that's someone you have to watch. But someone that's under the radar for me has got to be Josh Giddey. Just a kid who's absolutely dazzled. He got shut down due to tanking, of course. I believe it was a hip injury. But he's a star. Like, he's got court vision that's impossible to replicate. He's a really elite scorer. He's working on his jump shot now from deep with the San Antonio shot doctor, which I think could really help him and SGA. Now that Chet is out, I think all eyes are going to be on him to have the ball. I think Giddey's going to have a much larger role now that we know what he can do. And before he got injured, from November till February, he was the Western Rookie of the Month every single month. What's he going to do in year 2? You saw what he did in the Summer League. He's ready to absolutely ball. He's my number 1 player out of this group to watch and keep my eyes peeled on.